How you doing, YouTube? Thank you very much for checking back in. I highly appreciate that. Now let's jump right into it. So what we're going to talk about today is Fresno Bulldogs, one of the most biggest Hispanic street gangs that's non-affiliated with the Northerners and the Southerners, okay? You got Modesto, you got Fresno, and you got Bakersfield. Okay, a little geography lesson right there for y'all before we continue forth. Now, this whole entire rivalry began primarily with the Northerners, okay, and the Bulldogs. They were once very close, never had no beef, but in the mid 80s, early 80s, okay, when the Northerners and Southerners started getting into it, the Northerners started punking everybody that was from Fresno, okay? They had their own little clique called F-14, okay? They all started ganging up on the smaller batch of the bunch, okay, which was these Northerners at that time from Fresno. So they said they weren't having that anymore. So they stood up to the Northerners. So what happened? They started fighting within. Okay? Tore them apart. And fast forward till today, you have the Bulldogs from Fresno and you have the Northerners up here primarily in Northern California. Alright? So they separated, right? They didn't want to be taxed to begin with. Keep in mind, the Northerners were trying to punk these Fresno Bulldogs in the beginning, right? And until this day, they stand their ground. You know, they don't want to join alliances with the Southerners nor the Northerners, okay? So they don't get taxed. They refuse to get taxed. They want to keep every single penny from any illegal activity that they might be doing to fund their criminal organization. Right? So, like I said earlier, you got Modesto, Fresno, and Bakersfield. Bakersfield on down, that's where the grand part of the Southerners are from. From Modesto on up, grand part of the Northerners, that's where you'll find them. Okay? And in the middle, you got the Bulldogs, Fresno Bulldogs. Okay? So, that right there is a big battlefield. It's not like you could just go there one day, have a good time with your family, you know, representing your gang if you're from Southern California or Northern California, right? So that right there until this day is still a hot battleground for the Northerners and the Southerners, right? Now, when the Bulldogs get incarcerated, they don't go into protective custody. They have their own yard. They separate them. They, infiltrate them. As soon as they drop off every other inmate that's taking that long bus ride upstate, they stop by and drop them off in their own prison yard. Okay? I don't know what prison yard that is, but they get dropped off there. All right? They have their own program. They have their own set of rules and all their politics that they follow by. Okay? Now, whenever a Northerner or a Southerner sees a Bulldog anywhere in the California prison system, it's a mandatory green light. You take flight on them. Okay? Mandatory. This must be one of the rarest and only occasions that the Northerners and the Southerners click up to take flight on the Fresno Bulldogs, okay? Because nobody wants them. They decided to become their own, and they are on their own, and they're programming until this day on their own, okay? Now, from a former inmate that seen two Fresno Bulldogs when I was going from Santa Clara County to Delano, down south, and then up north to Susanville. As soon as those Fresno Bulldogs came in, everybody started screaming, yelling names, and, all derogatory terms were flying everywhere on that bus, right? We were like, man, if someone gets uncuffed, someone is going to take flight on that person, right? But they put them in the cage, in the bus, and as soon as everybody seen the COs come, nobody hushed, believe it or not. The COs had to bang the baton hecka hard on top of that bus. Bam, bam. You could imagine how loud it was. And the driver got on the speaker and started checking everybody. So we were just mad dogging each other throughout the whole entire bus ride going to, this was coming from Delano going to Susanville. All right? Everybody was just mad dogging each other, just staring at the Bulldogs, But we all got off that bus and, they didn't release them. They did not release them in Susanville. So they took them elsewhere because they have their own yard where they program. They don't go into protective custody at all. So that was my closest encounter ever with the Bulldog. All right. Now, if you guys think Southerners don't have their version of a Bulldog, right? They do. So I'm going to be dropping that video in a couple of days, if not a week or so. So make sure you stay tuned for that, all right? So thank you very much for checking back in. I highly appreciate that. Till next time. Peace.